Hello, everybody. This is Robert Dobos talking. I'd like to give you all a report on my interpretations focus team for the past year. Uh, the interpretations focus team is fairly new, and so we're trying to get going, trying to establish protocols and to get a good system of getting work done. And the first question you might always ask is, what are interpretations? Just what are we talking about? And I like to think of interpretations or models, generally simple models, to describe the effect of soil properties on land use. And land use can take on a variety of definitions, a variety of meanings. And so, in the most general sense, interpretations are models that describe the interaction of a practice, a species, or an entity with soils and landscapes. So, it can be anything from a person to a septic system to a fungus or a radioactive ion working through the soil. Those are the sorts of things that we try to model with soil survey interpretations. The focus team has three main charges. First off, we want an interdisciplinary working group to enhance and preserve the body of knowledge and techniques used in the process of creating soil survey interpretations. The second thing we want to do is continue to develop and enhance new or existing interpretations and make new interpretations. And finally, I want to enhance the documentation of our body of interpretations. There's hundreds of them, and the documentation is pretty difficult to get at. It's always been in text in the past, but now we have the means of having images. And so I think that we have the ability now to do a really good job of documenting interpretations. The team structure, there's four basic parts: the science team, design and development, validation and testing, and documentation. The science group or team have generally been using the Science of Interpretations class to accomplish the work, but it doesn't have to be that. The design and development team has been the design and development team for training. So we try to use the training as a workshop to get work done as much as we possibly can. Validation and testing is a place where everybody can help. And really, it's good that people do, because the whole program is reflected in the interpretations. And the better we can make the interpretations, the better the program will look. And it goes also with the documentation, just getting references and rationale put together so that people can determine or not have to go out to figure out what we've done. We tell them what we've done and the assumptions made and how the interpretations work. So for this past year, we had three classes taught. I think 2 sessions of understanding interpretations, 2 sessions of the science class, but unfortunately, due to the current medical climate, developing and designing interpretations, which has always been in the past a face-to-face class, did not meet this well. We did actually meet very early in the pandemic. So we did have one meeting, but not another one. But we've still been developing new interpretations. The COVID-19 response team was enacted mostly because of supply chain disruptions, and we're making it so herds needed to be depopulated, because just because the stuff wasn't going anywhere doesn't mean the milk doesn't stop being produced, doesn't mean the hogs stop growing. So we had to figure out ways of taking care of the unfortunate overabundance when the supply chain was disrupted. And the forestry modernization team has been meeting for quite a while, and it's something that we have trying to work on for several years, just to bring the forest soil interpretations up to speed and have a modern look to them and good documentation. And we have one thing we were able to kick out this year, the drought vulnerable soils, just as a nice indicator of soils that they're going to be sketchy or iffy even in a normal quote unquote year. The science of interpretation classes have been a nice way to get science, the science of interpretations, and figure out the criteria tables for things. And for this year, for sure, we have industrial hemp and soil properties response to biochar application. And there's a list of the people that have worked on these. And also, we have a high bush blueberry interpretation working up for the south, and Aconia berries, I think, working in the north central states. But we'll have those probably ready to look at in the next year. Developing new interpretations. Interpretations, in testing is a very important part of developing new interpretations. And now everyone here can participate in this effort using the interpretations testing site. And the great thing about this site is that you don't have to know anything about NASA's. It just cracks open a really small window. So you can get in there, you can run some reports, get some data, and not be burdened with learning a whole bunch of SQL or having to run queries or even start the system. So it's a pretty elegant way, really, of being able to break into the system a little bit and to be able to test interpretations on soil survey areas that you know. There's the URL for it. That doesn't do you much good on a PowerPoint, I suppose, but we'll get that sent out more. And here's what this page looks like. It's not a very pretty site, but it's functional for trying to see how interpretations, how the output looks. There's usually a mapping export, so you can make a map of them, and a manuscript style tables, so you can see how the various reasons for why soils are limited or unsuited. And we also want to enhance documentation is one of the charges. And Meredith has done a nice job on the version 3 doc of NCCPI, which is about to go to the department review to make sure it's okay. And one of the things I mentioned earlier, I think, was that I think interpretations ought to be explicitly used or show up in the published literature a lot more than they do. And so we finally got one up there in the big times here. And you can see that paper in +1. And the people I worked with were Centers for Disease Control and State Health Department people. And if you want to look at the interpretations team site, you can look at that link off of the focus team page. One of the future things we want to do is a lot more training, a lot more involvement, and then continue on a lot of the things I've been working on, particularly the conservation practice standards, and wanting to be able to incorporate the dynamic soil properties database into interpretation. So I think that'll be really neat. And so I'd like to thank you all for listening. My time is about up. If you have questions, you can get a hold of me, send me an email. If you want to participate, I surely hope you want to do that. So just let me know, and we'll work with you. Y'all have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.